Hi, this is Gary Auden. I'm bringing you an EDUcast. WAN Simplified, the differences. SD-WAN do-it-yourself versus SD-WAN as a service. This is sponsored by EDUcast, Telecom Reseller, and Mosaic Networks. With me today is Matt Hiles. He's the Chief Operating Officer of Mosaic Networks. And as we always do, we cover what we're going to discuss in this presentation. With any technology, you have a problem. There's a lot of promises, but there's also a lot of challenges. And many times you see the promises in the press, but not so much the challenges. We're going to move into a different way of looking at this. SD-WAN as a service. It's a paradigm shift for a lot of people out there today. And then we're going to discuss the supply chain model that goes along with this paradigm shift. So Matt, just to get everyone on the same page, would you start us off with a definition of an SD-WAN?
Hi, Gary. I'd be glad to do that. There are a lot of variations on the definition of SD-WAN out there, and we have one up in front of us right now. When we distilled it all down, here's what we came up with. The SD-WAN is a transformational wide area networking technology that increases capacity and performance while reducing complexity and cost. And it's also important to note that a key tenet of SD-WAN is virtualization, of both control and of network resources. I'll be making frequent references to SD-WAN and SD-WAN as a service. And it's important to note that these two references are not interchangeable. There are important differences, and those differences are really the basis for our discussion today, Gary.
When I look at a lot of reports out there, there's lots of analysts saying things. Let's talk about some of the analysts here. What are the analysts saying?
The analyst firms and the industry experts are nearly unanimous in their forecast and predictions for uptake of SD-WAN. Fortunately, with a few years of historicals behind us, we are on a trajectory to meet or exceed those projections.
With any technology, there are promises and challenges. Would you start reviewing some of these?
Definitely. The first is the ability to virtualize. Sometimes we forget in our frequent use of SD, the SD stands for software defined, and this software now enables us to control functions on the WAN, such as business policy, application control, and firewall rules from a centralized controller. It also allows us to virtualize network services by creating an overlay tunnel of the physical transport and using cloud gateways to improve cloud app performance.
When we talk about cloud application performance, what are you focusing on there?
The foundational purpose of a WAN is to connect users to applications. As enterprises move more applications to the cloud, they are increasingly concerned about the performance of those applications across the public internet. With the use of cloud gateways, which are deployed globally, and these reside on the doorstep of these cloud applications, such as Office 365, Salesforce, Box, AWS, Azure, and with that, we can now improve and even control the performance of these applications. And this is what we call application assurance.
Would you continue talking some more about the promises?
Another promise of SD-WAN is increased availability and capacity, and we'll take these two together.
So let's move on to what you mean by increased availability.
So looking at this graphic, we see multiple transport types. SD-WAN is transport agnostic, so we can use various transport types. Also, by taking these multiple links and aggregating them into an active environment, not active standby, we increase capacity while also increasing network availability. In doing so, we create an enterprise-grade WAN using the public internet that will support real-time applications such as voice and video.
Now we're continuing with some more of the promises. Let's talk about those.
Certainly. So SD-WAN provides us a granular level of visibility and control that heretofore has been unavailable to the network administrator.
This, I think, is a very important title you have up here. Visibility plus control equals application performance. Would you go into that, please?
Yeah, we agree. This is very important. Historically, network administrators have worked with limited visibility and control of what's on their network. And the first alarm of a problem typically has been a call from a user to the help desk complaining about slow performance and demanding more bandwidth. And throwing more bandwidth at the problem is not the solution. Enterprises need greater performance. This image depicts the controller or the orchestrator in an SD-WAN environment. And now we can clearly see what applications are on this network. In this case, we can see the top 10 applications at this particular branch location. And with the granular business policy control, we can now prioritize these applications to ensure increased performance of the network in general and of the productivity apps specifically, while at the same time deprioritizing non-essential traffic such as social media.
We've talked about the benefits and the value, but now can you go into the challenges? Because I think there's more than one.
There are definitely more than one. Many of the challenges for DIY or do-it-yourself SD-WAN stem from packaging issues. In a DIY environment, the question has to be, how does the enterprise package all of the requisite elements without compromising on the core drivers for SD-WAN, which are speed, agility, control, availability, and cost savings. So last mile procurement is one of those. Arguably the biggest challenge is packaging these services such as the internet links. Last mile procurement is a low-level administrative work for an enterprise. If you take the number of sites that they have, multiply them by 2 for primary and secondary links, that's your theoretical number of potential vendors. And global enterprises face the additional challenge of multiple languages and multiple currencies. So although last mile procurement might not be a showstopper for SD-WAN DIY, it is something that must be carefully considered. Management and trouble ticketing is also an area. These MPLS services are typically delivered in a fully managed environment, which means the MPLS provider, the traditional carrier, handles all the network monitoring and troubleshooting for a fee, of course, and then often only after opening a trouble ticket. So another packaging question then is, how will this work with SD-WAN and multiple ISPs?
One of the points I think is important you've been making here is a lot of this is new to the people who are viewing this. So this is a strain on IT.
We see that as well, Gary, and we've seen 2 problems over the last 5 to 7 years. First is, and these are obvious problems, that IT complexity is increasing. The second problem is that IT budgets are flat or decreasing. And the result of this is sort of perfect storm for IT, where there is more work and fewer technical experts to do that work. Additionally, IT departments are really increasing their relevance within the enterprise overall, and they're working less on configuring remote single function hardware and more on driving business initiatives and profitability for the enterprise and using technology to do that. This is really the foundation of digital transformation, which is a term we often hear out in the space these days.
I think your last point is very important. This also changes the way I do cash flow in my business model.
Indeed. In fact, contemporary financial management for many enterprises emphasizes OPEX over CAPEX. One of the key tenets of digital transformation is this very notion. So many infrastructure managers are simply saying service versus servers. And the ability for them to acquire new technology with a subscription is highly attractive to the enterprise. And this is the OPEX model. For these reasons, many enterprises are seeking to deploy SD-WAN as a service versus do-it-yourself in order to reduce complexity and to ensure they actually realize all the promise of SD-WAN.
Now let's talk about that SD-WAN as a service. It is a shift, all right? But it turns out, you say, it's more than just turnkey.
It is. It's turnkey plus. So SD-WAN as a service really is a paradigm shift for both service providers and the enterprise. And as we mentioned before, MPLS is typically delivered by traditional carriers as a fully managed solution. And we talk about multiple diverse carrier links. This is important because many traditional carriers offer SD-WAN solution, but some would argue that buying SD-WAN from a traditional carrier is a strategic mistake. And this is because much of the promise of SD-WAN is not realized.
So let's move into that multiple carrier links a bit more. Would you help us understand that?
One of the stated promises of SD-WAN is increased capacity and increased network availability. This paradigm shift is accomplished by using multiple carriers to increase the capacity and to ensure redundancy and diversity. The traditional carriers aren't especially interested in bringing in other big carriers to their customers. In the slim chance that they do, having one traditional carrier managing other traditional carriers is really not the formula for world-class service. So enterprises need more performance and availability from multiple carrier links, but need it in a simplified vendor management environment.
Let's continue that discussion and add some more to the value proposition here.
So every traditional carrier has its own unique service delivery processes and timelines. If you multiply that by the number of vendors, the enterprise is faced with the potential of enormous coordination quagmire. Add in that for global enterprises, face the additional challenge of multiple languages and currencies. So the paradigm shift that enterprises are seeking is a simplified single vendor solution for all service delivery and support needs.
So let's take a look at this. You have been around for a while. Take us through Mosaic Networks and their numbers.
So Mosaic Networks was founded in 2007. We're an 11-year-old IT infrastructure provider. We started as a carrier, and like ourselves, saw the promise of SD-WAN in 2014. We did an analysis of the industry-leading vendors out there and selected VeloCloud, again, one of the industry leaders, recently acquired by VMware. Had our first deployment in 2016 and haven't looked back. But we bring a unique combination to the table, Gary, of not only understanding the carrier side of this business, because that's what we started doing, and then we overlaid SD-WAN onto it. And so really our model has been to simplify the procurement and administration of intelligent networks.
You offer service that is turnkey plus, but what other elements are there that are really important to us?
Single contract and single invoice is another cornerstone of SD-WAN as a service, and it's an important element in simplifying the administration of a new WAN deployment.
Would you continue talking more about that single invoice? Because for me, looking at all the things I have to handle as an IT person, this would be extremely valuable and also reduce a lot of my time and labor for managing this.
Understood. And as a disclaimer, you're seeing some logos here of traditional carriers. They aren't necessarily bad or good. They're just some of the household name players. Having a single contract and invoice is an often mentioned benefit. But the question is, why is it important? There are a bunch of costly administrative tasks that involve both the departments of legal and finance that no one really talks about. And supplier onboarding is one of those tasks. And if you look at that a little deeper, we talk about negotiating new vendor contracts. In-house legal teams are already overloaded, and outside counsel, if used, is highly expensive. Then there are a number of other tasks that are necessary to onboard a new provider. Acquiring the supplier's profile, running financial viability checks, setting up banking information, purchase order delivery integration. All these tasks take personnel time. And once though they're onboarded, then comes the invoice flow, integration and auditing. Again, a time-intensive task for the finance department. Each of these functions has an associated cost. And with the enterprise, much larger scale, they really want to minimize this administrative load and the cost of having those requisite multiple vendors.
This then takes us into the words supply chain management, part of what you offer. Would you go through some of those elements for us?
Certainly. The SD-WAN supply chain comprises the entire ecosystem of people and activities and information required to deliver SD-WAN as a service. This includes sourcing, procurement, logistics. So as I mentioned previously, and it's worth repeating, this enables enterprises to focus on their core services and while outsourcing the non-core business support functions.
Let's continue with this supply chain discussion, but I think this graphic here illustrates a lot of what you're talking about.
It does. It really highlights the components of SD-WAN as a service versus the do-it-yourself model, and this really is the question of the day. So what we see here are on the left side of the screen, we've got multiple carriers as well as the SD-WAN technology, and then all of the other functional areas as well. The wholesale contracts, the technical personnel to properly design a wide area network using this new technology, and all the workflows and processes and the logistics, all of these combined out the back create the SD-WAN as a service, and doing so in a single vendor environment.
That gets into the last question, why SD-WAN as a service? I'm sure there's some benefits, but do-it-yourself seems to be a lot of interest to people who want to control things. So what's important here?
Well, there are a couple of ways you can do this, and one is the DIY model, Gary, and the other is SD-WAN as a service. And I think, for the reasons we've discussed today, it is very compelling for the enterprise to consider both options and prudently. I think that the tactical and strategic question here is, what are the advantages of SD-WAN as a service versus DIY? And we've seen them here, and there are many below the surface complexities that are associated with the real promise of SD-WAN. And enterprises should identify and carefully consider those complexities to ensure that they maximize the value attainment of SD-WAN while minimizing the administrative burden and costs deploying a new WAN technology. Mosaic Networks SD-WAN as a service takes these disparate but requisite elements, including the industry-leading SD-WAN technology, along with multiple diverse carrier links, and then wrapping them in a proprietary supply chain model, and then delivering it in a highly orchestrated single vendor solution.
I'd like to point out to people that you can get a hold of Matt, the person we're actually talking to, and speak to him about this technology. I appreciate your time, and thank you everyone for listening, and thank you, Matt.
Thank you.